The ghost of power. In the heart of Europe stands a country that has been both a savior and a destroyer, a model and a warning: Germany. For centuries, the question of European stability has been tied to one fact: what happens when Germany is strong? In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. The great symbol of the Cold War crumbled, and Europe celebrated. Images of families reunited, champagne on the Brandenburg Gate, and the promise of never again divided swept across the continent. But behind the cheers, in the private corridors of Paris, London, and Brussels, there was unease. Because to understand Europe's fear, you have to understand its history. Every time Germany unified, in 1871, in 1933, and again in 1990, the balance of Europe shifted. This fear is not paranoia, it is memory. Twice in the 20th century, a strong and ambitious Germany brought Europe to ruin. And though today's Germany is democratic, peaceful, and integrated, history's shadow lingers. Europe has long feared two extremes: a weak Germany, which invites chaos, and a dominant Germany, which imposes it. Finding the balance between those two has been the continent's oldest geopolitical puzzle. The post-war formula: contain, integrate, trust. After 1945, the solution seemed clear. Germany must never again stand alone. It had to be powerful enough to rebuild, but never powerful enough to conquer. So the Western Allies built a system designed to keep Germany both anchored and constrained. It joined NATO for defense under American leadership. It joined the European Economic Community for prosperity under French partnership. Its military was limited, its diplomacy cautious, and its national pride subdued. This arrangement, called by historians the double anchoring, worked. West Germany became the engine of European growth, while remaining obedient to the collective. It was rich, but restrained, respected, but humble. And for 40 years, divided Germany posed no threat, because it was literally split in two. But everything changed in 1989. When the wall came down, an old European question resurfaced: what happens when Germany becomes one again? The uneasy unity, the reunification of Germany, was a moment of euphoria, but not for everyone. Margaret Thatcher reportedly asked her advisors, "Do we really want a united Germany dominating Europe again?" François Mitterrand, the French president, shared her concern, but his solution was more subtle. He pushed for deeper European integration, especially monetary union. The logic was simple: if Germany must be strong, let it be strong within Europe, not above it. Thus, the modern European Union and the euro currency were, in part, born out of fear of German power. By binding Germany's economy to its neighbors, Europe sought to ensure that its might would serve the collective good. But even as Germany integrated, the nature of its power began to change. No longer measured in armies, it emerged in factories, exports, and budgets. By the early 2000s, Berlin had quietly become the new capital of European decision-making. And yet, Germany still refused to call itself a leader. The economic empire. If the 19th century was defined by Bismarck's steel and blood, the 21st is defined by spreadsheet diplomacy. Germany's economy became Europe's beating heart and its straitjacket. Its trade surpluses dominated EU markets. Its financial discipline shaped the Eurozone's rules. And during the 2008 financial crisis and the later Greek debt collapse, it was Berlin, not Brussels, that called the shots. Critics accused Germany of running an economic empire without admitting it. Supporters said it merely practiced responsibility. Either way, the outcome was the same. German decisions defined Europe's fate. But this dominance came with resentment. To Southern Europeans, Germany symbolized austerity and arrogance. To Eastern Europeans, it seemed hypocritical, calling for unity while pursuing its own interests. And to the French, Germany had become a reluctant hegemon, leading not by ambition, but by absence of alternatives. It was power disguised as prudence. The reluctant hegemon. Unlike the empires of old, Germany's dominance today is psychologically restrained. It carries the weight of guilt from the past and a deep aversion to military strength. Where other nations display flags, Germany debates whether it should wave them at all. Where others speak of national destiny, Germans speak of responsibility. This moral caution makes Germany unique and at times paralyzed. In crises from the Balkans to Ukraine, it has often hesitated, preferring consensus to confrontation. But that same restraint has also earned it trust, especially among smaller nations that fear both American unpredictability and French ambition. And so, modern Germany finds itself in a paradox. It leads Europe precisely because it refuses to. Its influence stems not from command, but from necessity. Yet beneath this quiet power lies an uncomfortable truth. Europe's dependency on German stability has created a new kind of fear. From fear of power to fear of withdrawal. The old fear was that Germany might rise too high. The new fear is that Germany might step back too far. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Europe looked to Berlin. But Germany hesitated, caught between moral caution and geopolitical reality. Its reliance on Russian gas, its pacifist culture, and its reluctance to lead militarily left allies frustrated. For the first time, Europeans began to wonder, if not Germany, who holds the center of Europe together? France has vision but lacks economic clout. Britain has strength but left the EU. Italy and Spain struggle with debt. And Eastern Europe, though rising, still depends on Western support. Thus, the greatest irony of post-war Europe has emerged. After decades fearing a dominant Germany, Europe now fears a passive one. Because if Germany's economy falters, the entire EU feels it. If Germany turns inward, Europe loses direction. The balance of the continent, once about restraining German ambition, now depends on reigniting it, responsibly. The burden of memory. To understand this paradox, one must grasp Germany's psychological landscape. National pride in Germany is cautious, almost whispered. Its constitution limits military force. Its public debates are filled with moral anxiety about history's repetition. But history, as it turns out, never repeats exactly. It transforms. In the 21st century, power no longer comes from armies crossing borders. It comes from supply chains, influence, and values. Germany's greatest export today isn't steel or cars, it's stability. It sets the cultural tone of responsibility, rules, and rationality that underpins the European project. And yet, that very stability can sometimes harden into rigidity, a lack of imagination, a fear of risk, a refusal to act decisively. This is not imperialism, but inertia, and for a continent in flux, it may be just as dangerous. The European dilemma. Europe today faces a new geopolitical reality. Russia challenges its borders. China tests its economy. America's commitment wavers between protection and isolationism. In this environment, Europe needs leadership, but leadership that unites rather than dominates. Can Germany provide that? Can it move from moral hesitation to moral confidence, from memory to mastery of its past? For decades, Germany's greatness lay in being the power that didn't want to be powerful. But as global crises multiply, from climate to war to energy, the continent increasingly looks to Berlin to act. To some, this feels like fate calling again. To others, it feels like history's cruel irony, that the nation once feared for its strength must now be feared for its absence. The future of Europe's center. In the years after World War II, Europe's architects designed institutions to prevent the return of tyranny. But they also designed a system where leadership could be shared, not concentrated. Yet as crises test this design, the old reality reemerges. Power abhors a vacuum. Without a confident Germany, Europe risks fragmentation. Without European unity, the the post-war dream risks fading. The challenge ahead is not to fear German resurgence, but to define it. To build a version of German leadership that is cooperative, courageous, and creative. A Germany that leads for Europe, not over it. From fear to balance, the fall of the Berlin Wall promised that history had ended, that Europe would forever be united in peace. But peace is not a permanent state. It is a balance that must be maintained. And that balance still revolves, as it always has, around Germany. So, is Europe still afraid of a German resurgence? Perhaps not in the way it once was. Today, the fear is subtler, that the very nation that once reshaped Europe by force might now hesitate to shape it at all. In that hesitation lies both comfort and danger. For in history, every power must learn not only how to rise, but how to lead. And as Europe faces an uncertain century, the question remains timeless. Can Germany finally be strong without making others feel weak? Conclusion: history does not erase its echoes, it transforms them. From empire to integration, from war to partnership, Germany's story is Europe's mirror. It reminds us that the past never truly vanishes. It only evolves into the choices we make now. So perhaps the true test of European unity isn't whether it can contain Germany, but whether it can trust it. Because the ghosts of fear fade only when replaced by the courage to lead, together. If you found this exploration insightful, give this video a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel for more deep dives into philosophy, history, and human nature. Because the questions may be ancient, but the wisdom is timeless.